Hello there and welcome to another Watercolor Wednesday. I'm so pleased that you've joined me. Today I'm going to be creating 4 interesting skies using my Winsor & Newton professional watercolors, my size 8 round Emma Lefebvre Craftimo round brush, and I'll also be using a flat brush to place just clean water on for the wet on wet technique. And I have 2 jars of water. One's a little bit murky because I've been painting a little bit already. I have my piece of paper towel, and I have prepared my piece of paper with masking tape, which I've divided this sheet. It's a letter size or A4 type size sheet of 100% cotton watercolor paper, and I've divided it into 4 separate areas. And for today's video, I'm just going to be doing the skies. I will complete the rest of the landscapes in my own time. So for sky number 1, I'm first drawing a little line where I want the horizon to be, and then I actually thought about it, and I decided that I'm going to rather put some masking tape where I want the horizon to be so that it's clean. And you'll see that I first stick my masking tape onto a surface. I'm just sticking it onto this wooden desk, which has bits of dust and all sorts of things, just to make it a little bit less tacky. And then I'm going to put a thin coat of clean water down on this top part of the paper. So I'm wetting my brush, and then I always just dry the ferrule a little bit because I don't like my fingers getting so wet. That's just personal taste. You don't have to do that. And I'm making this quite wet. I always find when I'm doing a video, like if I was painting without the video, I would be lifting this up to check that the whole lot was wet. But it's difficult because my camera is just above where I'm painting, so I can't do that. And then I'm starting with some Prussian blue. I did spritz all the little half pans first. I bought my professional Winsor & Newton watercolor paints in tubes, so I filled the half pans myself. I want the top of the sky to be quite dark, and I'm painting that onto this little piece of paper and then leaving some white space, and just generally doing a few slanty sort of lines with the paintbrush to leave the white in between will be clouds, and just quickly and very easily, and this will make a sort of a windswept cloudy sky. And I will drop a small bit of cobalt blue onto the paint as well, which is a nice bright, as you can see, quite a brighter color, just to liven it up a little bit. And then I want the top to be a bit darker, so I think I'll go in and use a bit of a richer mixture of this Prussian blue straight from the half pan onto the paper, just to make the top brighter and more interesting. And then I drop a few bits of the darker in as well, because clouds are never just one color, and the beauty and the joy and the wonder of painting wet on wet is that these things blend together and create a soft, very lovely, I think, effect in the end. So that just has to be left to dry now, and then I'm going to be on to my next sky. I just am sort of drying a little bit off with a clean brush just to make it not have a straight line. I felt like some of the water wasn't there. I'm clearing off the area where that masking tape was going over, and I'm going to start on my next sky. I'm going to put another piece of masking tape for the horizon line. I'm doing this one a bit higher because I want to do both a little sort of green hill coming over the sky, and then I want to do some flowers. So I'm wetting with clean water this little area first. It's great to practice skies and things on small areas like this because the paper doesn't dry, and you kind of get a much more guaranteed successful result. Although one really must not look for success and judge yourself. I think we really need to paint for the love of painting and relax while we're doing this. So I'm trying something that is a little bit more difficult. I'm going to be mixing violet and yellow ochre for an interesting sky, but they are on different sides of the color wheel. So if you blend violet and yellow ochre together, you get a bit of a muddy brown. So I'm just dropping these bits of quite watered down yellow ochre into areas, and then I'm making sure to clean my brush well, and then I'm going to go into the violet and bring that over to this little palette, and then drop little bits of violet in as well onto the wet paper. And the paper seems a little bit dry, so I need to wet around the edges just so that it's moving. And I'm being very careful to try not to, I want the two to bleed into each other with the water. And I don't seem to have got my paper sufficiently wet, so I'm trying to get water there so that the two bleed into each other naturally, with little bits of white maybe between them. I don't want mud, so I'm going with a bit more yellow ochre and just trying that together and trying to make sure that the area around them is wet. And then I will leave that to dry and hope that we get some nice, interesting, soft edges. So now I'm cleaning my brush and drying it off on a paper towel, and then just with that damp brush going around, damp clean brush going around where the two are together to try and let them blend well. And then I'm going in with some little bits of dark violet to add some texture, and then I will go in as well with some little bits, darker bits of the yellow ochre to also add little bits, sort of the idea of clouds, but in the same color. One could put the violet onto the yellow ochre, but I was actually not brave enough because it does tend to go brown, and I would probably do that if I was just trying my own thing, but I didn't want to flop while I'm doing a video for you guys. So I'm putting some yellow ochre clouds in here, just little bits, and this all dries in a paler. Watercolor always dries much lighter than when you paint it, which is sometimes nice and sometimes not so nice. Now for sky number 3, I'm going to draw in some generic kinds of an horizon line and some generic sort of mountains that I want to just have there. And I will do this other side of a landscape with you guys maybe another time, where I'll paint the sky myself and go into more detail, or else I'll just do one landscape. But these are I'm doing these all as very simple landscapes just to enjoy. I'm thinking of making a Skillshare class with different skies and easy landscapes. And so I'm playing around with things at the moment to try and find some nice ideas for that. I've learned so much on Skillshare that I do have 3 classes that I've made myself, actually. So in case you're interested, I'll put the link below this. The link will give you a month for free of a premium membership. You can follow various classes, not just mine. So now I'm using Opera Rose, which is a very bright, almost neon pink. I want this to be a slightly fairy tale looking sky with pinks and yellows. I do apologize for the noise in the background. We have had some rain lately, and our roof is leaking. Our roof is leaking, and so we have a roofing guy here that's fixing it, and I'm so sorry. I thought I'd finish before he came. I'm just going to close the door. He's actually quite far away from me, but even with the door closed, I can hear him. I hope it's not terribly disturbing. I do apologize. So with this pink, I did add just a tiny little bit of permanent rose as well, because I thought the Opera Rose was maybe just a bit too neon. And now I'm adding some Winsor yellow. And I'm not being particularly careful about not going over the mountains that I've drawn, because the mountains are going to be a darker color, so it will color it. And then I'm actually, with my brush, painting between the two, because the yellow and the pink blend together nicely to make a sort of an orange. So I wanted that gradation. And now I'm painting some darker pink clouds, and again, same sort of idea. And I've done some of those onto the yellow as well. And I've left a little bit of white cloud there. Now, following the same idea, I've added a little bit of clean white water to the top of this little painting area, and I'm trying to make sure it's evenly wet, evenly damp throughout. I seem to have got a hair caught on this page, and I can't get it lifted up. It's from my own head. You can see it there. It's irritating me so much. I'm going to try with my round brush and see if that grabs it. Come on, hair. I think I finally got it. So that hair's gone, and I just need to go over this again and make sure that it's evenly damp or evenly wet throughout before we do our last sky. So now, what are your guesses? What colors am I going to do this last sky? The suspense. I'm going to start with a dark indigo. I love indigo. It's one of those colors that moves so nicely in wet on wet. Then I'm going to ultramarine violet. I'm doing one of those night skies. This ultramarine violet is not quite as rich a color as the indigo. In a way, I almost wish that I had it straight from the tube so I could get it thicker. So I'm mixing those two together a bit to get a good blend. Then I'm going to bring just some plain violet down a little bit lower. So we've got the indigo, then the violet and indigo blend, then some violet. I'm trying to get this as a richer mixture straight from the pan. And now, what color shall we use next, do you think? So now I'm going to go onto my permanent rose, actually, and bring that down. So we've got a lovely sort of gentle evening gradation from pink sky to rose to dark blue. And I'm bringing some of the violet down into the pink. And I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do on this. The masking tape has got wet, and you can see that the color is actually bleeding in the sides there. So I'm just bringing the rose a little bit lower one needs to just keep an eye on your masking tape as well. I want this to be mostly sky. I will add stars and things to this later, but that is all I'm going to do for today's video, is show you the 4 skies, and then you can come up with some of your own ideas for your own landscapes underneath and share them with me, or you can ask me in the comments to do another video giving you some ideas of things to do in a landscape. Or I'm going to do, I think what I would like to do is just do another landscape where I've done the sky and go into detail of the lower area, just to share that with you. So I'm just smoothing this out, and as I'm doing this, I'd like to thank you very much for watching today's video and for spending time with me. And there we can see the 4 skies we've done. The top 2 are mostly dried, the 3rd one is nearly dry, and the 4th one is still wet. Thanks again for being here today. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a safe, wonderful, healthy, happy, and creative week. Bye-bye now.